Welcome back to another IFPG Discover. I'm your host, Red Basel, president of your IFPG Franchise Consultants. Welcome. Going to have some fun. And we usually talk to Zors, but we have some special occasions, and today is one of them. We got funding. Nothing more important than getting your candidates funded, right? I mean, obviously, a perfect match is number one, but they got to find the money, and most people don't want to use their own funds. So we've got an elite funding source, the one and only Benetrends. We got VP of, VP of Marketing, Kraus, and SVP of Business Development, got Michael Minitelli
Hey,
on the call.
love that middle name.
I'm glad you threw it in there, Red. Thank you for that.
That's when you call me Little Red or something.
I was going to say something else, but I didn't. I didn't want to bring that. I didn't want to bring that in, Red.
Nice. Awesome. Re-record here. No, we're all real all the time. Excited to learn more about the world of funding and all that Benetrends is doing and has done. So we're going to talk events and all the goodies involved. Allie, let's start with you, the brains and the beauty of Benetrends. Who is Benetrends? Give us
Benetrends. Who are we? I learned that for your consultants, we scroll on the page as they get to that directory to find a funding partner. And I love that you guys do that because you can see everyone there. So yes, we are the orange and blue team with the flower. That's us. Been around 42 years. Our founder, Len Fisher, is actually the architect of the ROBS program, which is Rollover for Business Startups. So we like to toot that horn because it's fun to say that 42 years ago, our founder actually worked directly with the IRS to create that program that we use so often now in funding franchises. So if you don't know much about it, we have a lot of resources on our website, benetrends.com. But first and foremost for us, it's relationship building. And that's why we're here to talk to you, Red, because we love our IFPG consultants. We love traveling to events. We go to probably 60 events a year. Bunch of those are IFPG events. So we did want to talk about events and just in general having fun in this industry because that's so important and it's ingrained in what we do here is it's not just funding, it's relationships and having a great time while we're doing it.
Amen. Love those relationships. Our purpose is to connect franchise professionals, and that's about relationships. Yeah. We've had a very long standing since day one, frankly, relationship with Benetrends.
Yeah.
Love all the lives we changed together. Hey, Mike, what events are we doing together with IFPG?
Upcoming event, the next one we have is the IFPG regional event in Salt Lake City. We have a team member, Anthony Bird, who happens to be local in Salt Lake. So Anthony's going to attend. I'm going to fly out to that. Huge fan of the IFPG regional events. I love, they're kind of geographically dispersed. So you're always going to a new city, a little bit more intimate. So you get the possibility of really, developing those relationships and getting some one-on-one time with not only the consultants, franchisors, and again, we're in the relationship business. So that's on the next stop for us with IFPG. And then obviously we'll be attending Retreat later on in the year, which we always participate in, which we're very excited about. One of our favorite events of the year. So yeah, to Allie's point, we go to a lot, plus 60 events a year. So luckily we have a team that's able to kind of, manipulate our schedules to accommodate all that, but we don't mind it because again, this is a big part of helping consultants close deals, helping franchisor close deals, and really educating people on funding in the lending environment.
Amen.
Yeah, man.
Well, we love having you there, and certainly we love our events.
Yeah.
Salt Lake City's coming up fast, man. So
fast.
Forward to it.
We'll be at Indy too. We actually picked the two cities that we don't get to go to very often, and hey, why not go to states that we're never in? And you don't get to see the consultants as often at places like convention or multi-unit or some of the other places we go to. So it is really cool to be on ground with people, especially now that Benetrends is fully remote. It's an opportunity to meet real life people and not just names in our CRM system.
Yeah. Amen. Love it. Pressing the flesh, breaking bread, going deeper together, making memories. And it was funny, Allie, it was funny when you said that because back in December when we announced 6 of our 7 regionals for the year, Salt Lake City sold out first. And I was like, now I've been pushing for Salt Lake City for 4 years, toot my own horn. I knew it would be a good one, right? But I was like, ladies, I was talking to the team, why did Salt Lake City sell out first? And they said they had asked the same question, and Indy, by the way, was right behind it. And they said, people never went there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we never know. I'm sorry, like to the people that are in like places like Florida, like it's warm, it's great. I'll always go to Florida, but of our 50 events, probably 10 are in Florida, 5 are in Vegas. Like it's all these common cities that are fantastic cities, but to
Yeah.
do something smaller and more intimate in a place that we don't get to travel to very often it's so funny you said that because in that order it was Salt Lake then Indy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Red, when we got the email from the IFPG team, I kid you not, I could not respond quick enough to Allie. And
Yeah.
I said, these are the 2 cities that we'd like to at least try to get our foot in the door in, just because I know how quickly they go. And it was Salt Lake and it was Indianapolis, and it was strictly for those reasons, right?
Oh yeah,
So
Amy
we're super
Summerfield
excited about it.
barely clicked send by the time I voice messaged, "Hey Siri, call Mike Minitelli," and boom,
Yeah.
we were like, "Amy, get us in."
Right
Yeah.
on. That's awesome. I was proven right on Salt Lake, but wrong on Indy. I was like, can't we do Chicago? Well, that's a big
Ooh.
city that everybody's been to. And so
Yeah.
Yep.
like, no, let's try something new. We had done Chicago 2 years ago and 4 years ago. So yeah, Indy rocks. We're
Love
excited
it.
for both of those. We've got, of course, Boston. We've never done Boston. So Boston's a big one
Yeah,
coming
that's cool too.
into summer. And then New Orleans is another, a city people love to go to, but don't get to very often. So
Yeah, we had the Emerging Brands Conference there with IFA last year, and it was such a blast. So, but they move that conference every year, so that should be a great one for you guys too.
yep. In fact, probably the last time I was there was at the Emerging 3 years ago when it was
Okay.
in New Orleans. They did it kind of 1 year ago and 3 years ago. So love it. Well,
Yep.
guys, let's go deeper on Benetrends. So Mike, give us a little insights. How have we heard from Allie, you kind of founded the Rob's program way back in the
Yeah.
day, before we were all born, of course.
Mhm.
But how have y'all maintained that elite status as a leader in funding?
Yeah, it's a very good question, Red. And I think the approach Benetrends has always taken is be a consultative, sales approach to working with our clients. Obviously, the Rob's plan is what birthed our organization, but in order to stay ahead of that, not everybody has retirement funds, has eligible retirement funds. We needed to get into the more traditional lending options as well, right? SBA lending, fleet financing for the service-based brands, some unsecured lending. So obviously want to take a holistic approach when working with clients and finding out, hey, what are they looking to accomplish? What are their investment levels? Get a very high level understanding of their financial profile and assets, and then make recommendations based on the 42 years of experience we have and the tenure of our sales consultant to say, hey, these are actual really strong options for you. Sometimes, Red, those options do not include Benetrends, whether it's a utilization of cash or portfolio that they can borrow against or home equity. So again, we have no problem telling them, hey, you don't need us. You can do X, Y, and Z. But the goal is really educating these people, white glove approach, and then obviously making sure all of this information that we uncover is being communicated back to the consultant or whomever was the origin of that lead, right? This is again, a relationship business, and we want to make sure that our partners are in the loop every step of the way. So I think what's solidified Benetrends for the 40 years is having an understanding of the franchise business, the relationship, and the back and forth that needs to happen in order for everybody to be on the same page to ultimately change someone's life and get them into business. So the lending environment is always changing and adapting. So we have to move and adapt with it. We have a great finance department that has many relationships with financial institutions who are all super different, right, in the appetites that they have. So we know which banks like which lenders, and we can help facilitate that for some of our clients.
Well, you just really dropped some science on these consultants because so many of them see you as the 401k rollover guys and gals.
Yeah.
And this
We
is,
hear that a
you've
lot.
got the whole landscape of
Yeah.
opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
to add on to Mike too, he started to talk about how times change, the financial landscape changed. So I think it's important to know that what we've tried to do at Benetrends too is we have a really big team here. So one of the things I love to remind our consultants is that we can fund the first franchise of a very small emerging brand system that is new to your portfolio too, which not everyone can handle that. People are looking for bigger fish. And because we have the infrastructure here to do it, we'll take the first franchise or the 700th, which is great because we also with the times have changed and been able to offer more programs, not just the SBA team that we have in the Rob's funding that we have, but we also have a very specific program for fleet, which is anything on wheels. So that's important to understand for your consultants as well. And we also have a new program that we launched last June, which is for franchises anywhere from that 50,000 to 150, 250 maybe range. It's called our Quick Start program. It's an unsecured funding source that doesn't require any collateral, but you do have to have a high you have to have a 750 or plus credit score on that. So it's great. But my point in starting to explain some of the programs we have is that having a larger suite of options for somebody covers more ground because we have the infrastructure to do so. So it's been fun to, even just in the years Mike and I have been here, to watch that grow and do it together and see our teams kind of enhance what we're able to provide your clients.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, Allie, you'll be disappointed, and I'm even embarrassed that Mike is hearing this. I did not wear my Benetrends red velvet Vans.
Oh
am I
man, we
doing?
missed it.
I'm feeling naked. Yeah. You
No,
know what?
don't worry about it.
They rock. So
Mike, you have yours on right now?
I do not. I do
I
not.
don't either. I should have put
Yeah.
them on. We could have organized this red.
Just like, start over. Come
We
on.
probably should have planned that.
Man, mine, I was so, I feel like they're a museum piece. Like I should frame them and put them on the wall. They're so beautiful. The way that guy painted on the velvet to perfectly. I mean, this guy's an artist for sure.
Yeah.
And so one day I'm like, this is probably 7, 8 months ago. I was recording a video for Retreat, promoting Retreat, and I did the crazy zip lining in 110-degree weather in my full suit and tie, right? Well, I wore my epic red velvet Benetrends Vans on the zip line, right? So you're doing zip lines one at a time. They don't have people at every station. There's like 10 zip lines through this forest. I get to like zip line number 4. I'm by myself. I'm at the bottom and I'm like thirsty as heck. It's 110 degrees in a suit. So you have this 5-gallon thing of water and I cannot get the thing to work. I am chapped off. I am super chafed, thirsty wise, and I'm hitting it. I'm twisting it. Somehow I twisted the whole knob off and the 5 gallons of water pours out all over me and the ground and my beautiful Benetrends red velvet Vans. So they are muddy to this day. So they're just not as beautiful as they were.
Okay.
Kind of like
I know what you're insinuating, Red, so I'll have to whip up another pair.
That was a really sly way of doing it.
Not even. No, you guys are my.
I'm totally messing with you.
Yeah, we're
my
kidding.
wife.
But I like that you brought up the shoes, Red, because that goes back to just having fun in the industry too.
Yes,
I think people get so focused on business all the time, but personal branding is something I could talk about for hours, which we don't have time for today. But with Mike bringing these Air Force Ones and your specific ones to Red into the industry, and it's just another example of how we are trying to spread ourselves. You ask how we've been going this long. I think part of it is that we say yes to everything, is in a good way. We say yes to let's do everything and be everywhere, and we're very methodical in how we do each of those things. And some of it comes down to personal branding, whether you're on a mini mic recording things at trade shows or dancing TikToks in the aisles and handing out those custom Air Force Ones. You looking around for that mini mic?
I'm looking for the mini mic. I got it hanging on my wall somewhere in this mess of a rat's nest.
You are so funny. You don't need to have our special little secrets here, but we like doing it, not just as gifts, but just as representing who we are. And I think it says a lot about who Benetrends is and what we're trying to do in the industry.
Yeah, and to Allie's point about the personal branding, like obviously I've been doing the Air Force Ones, and when I originally reached out to you, Red, that was my again, I was just going to do that again, but I'm like that's just not what Red is. Red is Red Vans. So again, it's also nice to show that hey, we have intimate relationship with these partners, and again, that's going to change for the sneakers, change how we communicate with people. So again, this is really such a relationship business. I know we keep saying that, but we've developed friendships and longstanding relationships in the short time that we've been here. And again, we grind all day, all year. You're on the road just as much as us, Red. So it's nice to do this with people you like and have fun with. And again, it's just one aspect of what Allie and I are trying to bring to Benetrends is, hey man, let's have some fun, let's enjoy each other, and also show appreciation. And again, it's one thing to send things and gifts, but like people love to see their brand on something and they get excited about it. And as silly as it's been, it's helped our business. People come up, say, how do I get a pair? I'm like, hey, man, why don't you try sending us some leads, see what we can do together? And then all of a sudden, that relationship has grown to, 10 SBA deals, a bunch of Rob's plans. So at the end of the day, we're here to grow.
Yeah.
And it's fun and it's cool and it's just you know, it's been fun for Allie and I.
Well, I don't know how we've gone 15 minutes. We haven't even talked about the man, the legend, the Rocco.
Oh,
Allie,
Rocco.
I was going to ask you what, you came on board a good year ago or so with Benetrends. I was going to ask you too. Oh my gosh.
Almost 2, yeah, in about a month.
You could have gone anywhere and you chose Benetrends. I was going to ask you why, but I know Rocco's a big part of that. Give us some insight.
Yeah. Rocco's a huge part of it. I mean, I like to call him an icon in the industry. He's just seen it all, done it all, has experience in it all. I love that he's been with Zors, he's been franchisees, multi-unit franchisee. And he's at Benetrends and he left and came back. We call that the boomerang effect. Apparently people do that here at Benetrends and I can see why now. So yeah, yeah, Mike too. He was a huge piece of it. And I think it's fun to learn from him. It's fun to see how he views business and how we view business and how we can come together. And Rocco's a yes man too. He's the kind of boss, the kind of leader that allows people to do things outside of our comfort zones, our company's comfort zones. And if you fail from it, Allie, shucks, and you try again, right? And I think that's the best kind of leader and someone that I want to be like one day. So I think the company as a whole is so lucky to have that type of structure in who our CEO is at the time, because it allows us for different kinds of growth and to do things that maybe seem different or new or unprecedented or even silly at times. And it's cool because we get to learn as we go. And so I couldn't ask for a better CEO.
Yeah, I got introduced to Benetrends probably a decade ago, and you know who did it, Mike? Larry. Talk about icons, Rocco and
That's
Larry,
it.
man.
Yeah.
Another one. We have a lot of those dogs still with us. It's great.
Larry's
Yeah.
probably been there 42 years, and
Yeah.
he joined when he was 40.
Yep.
Love
And
you,
he
Larry.
still
Just kidding.
and he still loves what he does on a daily basis, which is great, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, Larry's one of the other architects behind Rob's and our Rainmaker Advantage plan, which is a second edition product. But yeah, I mean, Larry's, you know, probably one of the most knowledgeable people in our industry when it comes to rollover and just financing businesses.
And somehow still so passionate about it, which
I
is
know, God
the
bless him.
fun part is like, even the people that have been around for so long are so passionate about it. And to answer the second part of your question, Red, like why Benetrends for me is yes, Rocco was a huge piece of it. But I also heard a statistic once that women don't enter leadership roles or C-suite roles 85% of the time because they're financially illiterate. So I thought that when I would come to Benetrends, I knew Mike, I knew Rocco, but I didn't know that almost 60% of our entire staff is female. And so coming from the current vice chair of the Women's Franchise Committee and me and kind of turning the conversation over to that a little bit, it was really important for me to see women represented at a company like Benetrends and also have a different view of it. And in return, I also get to learn a lot. I wouldn't have been able to sit here and give you the definition of our Quick Start program 2 years ago. So it's been fun to challenge myself personally, but also challenge Benetrends to have women in business and women in finance, which isn't necessarily your first thought of who would be employed at what's the makeup of the Benetrends employee. So it's a really cool statistic that I'm really honored to be part of that statistic.
Yeah, you're leading that statistic. Absolutely. You know, I heard this a good while back. It was men prefer to buy from females and females prefer to buy from females. You're less intimidating, you're more kind, you're more caring, you listen better. So it only makes sense to
I love that you brought that up, and I feel like Mike can kind of take this in the direction I'm hoping it goes. But I love that you brought that up, Red, because that's so important to us here for matching not only consultants but also our franchisors with a sales consultant that makes sense for them. So Mike's got 10 SCs on, we call them SCs, sales consultants on his team that are assigned to different IFPG brokers, to different brands, etc. But what we've found is sometimes that is the case. I'm sure that a skincare brand or a massage company is probably more typically female operated and owned than male owned, and vice versa for the Z-Barts of the world. I know my buddy Larissa Wallega would tell you that, but we see brands that weigh heavily towards different male versus female. And so it's great because not everybody wants to work with a sales consultant for their female focused brand that's a male, and vice versa. So we love that we also have the structure of people here and the knowledge of different brands and consultants that we're able to match you with someone that really makes sense for what your candidate's looking for in a person, because we also just learn differently from people, and we want our sales consultants to have that connection.
Amen. And you know, Mike is quite girly, so it just makes sense that.
Yeah, my feminine qualities come out when I'm talking to these brands constantly. So, but no, to Allie's point, it's something that I actually take a lot of pride in. I think Benetrends does is everybody's different, right? And I try to, when I'm on the development side, when I'm working with consultants or brands trying to develop relationships, I really try to get an understanding of, you know, who's going to connect with them the most, right? It's all about connection. It's about being able to understand what they're looking for, how they like to communicate. And we have a very, very tenured team of sales consultants. I think our average tenure is about 9-10 years. So that's a lot of experience working with candidates, working with ZORs. And if you meet all 10 of our consultants, I mean, it couldn't be more of a rainbow of personalities in the way they carry themselves in the best way possible. And it's a, you know, it's an art to really match up the right candidates and the right consultants, franchisors with these individuals, because everybody's super different. And yeah, we literally spend that much time thinking about these things because, again, everybody connects differently.
Well, Mike, do you have who is the IFPG consultant? Yeah, go ahead.
Such good timing, because we have a brand new email for that, Red.
Oh, bring it.
Yeah.
Like, I'll share the email and then you can take it away with how that works on the team. But so for your consultants, Red, we have a brand new email that literally went live yesterday. It is IFPG leads with an S at Benetrends.com. So that is a brand new inbox for our direct broker relationship manager here. So it's a nice, easy way for your brokers who don't currently have their favorite Benetrends SC that they've worked with over the years. So any new IFPG consultants, anyone who doesn't currently have that face to name, face to email contact here at Benetrends can reach right out to IFPG leads at Benetrends.com.
Right on. Love that. And we need to talk to you about helping with training of our new consultants. We're adding at least a new consultant every week that we train, and we're training them on every aspect of being a world-class consultant, including the funding introduction, the funding high-level explanation. Mike, any thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big aspect of the consultant role is, right? You want to not get too dirty and in the weeds with funding, but you really want to understand enough about, you know, looking at a, you know, a questionnaire that one of your consultants filled out about their financial situation and immediately be able to connect those dots and say, okay, they're going to have this option, they're going to have that option. And I think when a consultant comes on, that's the best time in the world to get them thinking about the different strategies. Obviously, the Rob's plan, by popular culture standards, isn't very well known out there, right? We're all kind of conditioned early on in our professional careers. Don't touch your retirement funds. You're going to be taxed and penalized, you know, up to 30-40%. So when people get into this world, they don't even think that's an option. So obviously that's our bread and butter and what we created, but there's so many other products and things to look out for. So anything that Benetrends can do when it comes to webinars, you know, resources, co-branded materials to educate the consultants on, we would love to do that. It's a big part of what we do is, you know, not only educating the client and the end user, but the consultant or the franchisor, because even in the franchisor space, especially with a lot of these emerging brands, they're not that, you know, equipped or that knowledgeable about the lending environment, right? They might have their corporate owned locations, but they haven't started selling them, right? So I think that's even a huge area of opportunity for us, for the brands in your inventory to educate them about some of the options, because they don't know what they don't know, right? So it's all about education. So training when an IFPG consultant comes on, if Benetrends can be helpful in that, we would love that opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. And I see consultants, I call this pride. They try to know everything about everything, every brand, the funding process. And, you know, we are introducers. Give a quick high-level 2-3 sentence overview. Let the pros be the pros. Let them do their job. And so to that point, and hope I didn't steal your answer here, I'm going to ask each of you, and a mistake you see consultants make, or perhaps maybe a best practice they need to embrace more. Allie, we'll start with you. A bit of advice for the consultant out there around introducing Benetrends and funding to their candidate.
So I'm not on the introduction side, Reg, but I will comment on the side.
You called me Reg.
Oh,
Reg.
sorry, Red.
That's
Look at
Anthony's
that.
dad. I
wasn't
know
Reg.
Reg. He's
I
only
know.
about
I did hear that slip, Allie,
a
but I was
little
just
older than me.
You know what's funny is when I voice text and I say the word reg in them, it renames it red. And then when I go to call him, Siri calls him reg. So I don't, you're in my phone too,
Well,
Red. I don't
it's
even
an
know.
honor to be mixed up with the icon Reg, which,
Oh,
by the way, y'all acquired or combined services.
yeah.
What's the
In
name of their company?
April 2 years ago. So April of 2024. So we're just now coming up on our 2-year acquisition of that. And so they have enhanced our SBA team beyond belief, which is pretty
2
cool.
years.
So
Man, time flies.
I
Sorry to
know.
interrupt you.
It's okay. I'm gonna say that again, Red, because I would say one of the biggest things I think that your consultants could do to enhance their understanding is similar to what Mike said, but use and know your resources. You aren't the person that knows everything about funding. And so one of the really great things we can do here at Benetrends for your IFPG consultants is we have 2 different kinds of co-branded materials that are on your portal, but the better thing that we can do is actually co-brand them with your consultant information. So we have a one sheet, and then we have a really big document that's about 20 pages that we call our Innovative Funding Strategies Guide. So both of those you can reach out and we can actually put your consultant's information directly on, the IFPG logo directly on, and co-brand those so that they have resources to not only have printed copies when they're out and networking and going to events, but they can also have PDFs to send their clients to say, here's high level options for funding, from SBA to ROBS and everything in between. Now let me do that soft introduction to my buddies over here at Benetrends. And so I think it's just something people don't know about, that if your consultants are more familiar with the fact that there are resources out there, they don't need to be creating their own funding slides on their presentations. We can do that for you, and it's no cost. It's part of our partnership together. So we would love to do that.
And before we hear Mike's answer to this, Allie, when ideally do you see a consultant utilizing this? Is this before the first call, after the first call? When should they get that to the candidate who's just beginning the process?
Mike Minitelli taught me when I first started at Benetrends that very similar to the way you're buying a house, you're going to do that pre-qualification very early on. So I think it's a big mistake to wait as a consultant to make sure that the franchises that you're putting in front of them are something that they can afford. I wouldn't have gone shopping for a $2 million house if I was only qualified for 500,000. And I think that's important because we see people who are let down by these dream franchises that they maybe see in their future, or they saw at a trade show, or they shop at their local pet store that they fell in love with. And so I think that's a huge disappointment. And so in order to almost mitigate that problem, your consultants could be putting these funding strategies and pre-qualification opportunities into their clients even sooner. And I think the sooner the better, because it makes it way more reality for what's affordable, and do you even have enough cash to run this for the first year. I think it is a big misconception that we could alleviate some of those problems by just getting to the client earlier with those conversations.
Wise words, and consultants, hope you got that. So oftentimes the candidate will be like, oh, I'm not ready to talk funding yet. I need to really find that franchise. This is time kills deals. And they may be looking at the wrong franchise. They may not realize the potential they have to get a 3-pack or a 5-pack rather than a single. And oftentimes it's easier to do that. And so starting that process, very critical step in the process, even for the candidates who've got money, flowing out of everywhere. They need to understand their options.
And our hope is that they come to us before they've selected a franchise.
Of course.
It makes the whole process from start to finish. Also, I think it just feels safer. Like, I'm not going to look at cars I can't afford. I'm not walking in to see a Maserati. Like, I'm walking into somewhere that I know this is attainable for me. And this is something that someone coached me to be able to walk through. So I think it makes the whole process like simpler, and who wouldn't want that? You're putting so much of your financials on the line to start a business that it can be daunting and super scary. And so we want to help alleviate some of that pressure on the client.
Well, Mike, we are an advisor, a consultant, a matchmaker, a coach, and we do all those. And part of very critical, foundational part of that is introducing them to their funding options. What are your thoughts around what a consultant can do better in that?
It's always the earlier the better. I mean, I know I'm kind of picking up where Allie left off on hers, but I think the biggest mistake that I see just in the industry in general is they're coming to funding so much later in the process than they should be. In my personal opinion, and I'm always okay with adapting to a consultant's way of communicating and development or a franchisor's, but the earlier they're finding out their options, the better off they're going to be. To your point, time kills deals, right? Fear also kills deals, and everybody approaches financing and money differently. And some people get scared of the financial commitment. And the earlier they're speaking with somebody about funding, and it's not always going to be Benetrends, right? They might have somebody in their family, or they're just familiar with it. They may come from banking, but it's got to be part of that first or second call. I think more specifically with newer consultants or newer ZORs, they get a little bit more scared and timid to have those financial conversations. And then the more tenured ones know, like, hey, man, if they don't have the financial wherewithal to do this, I don't want to waste my time. Yeah. And the other good thing that I think I take a lot of pride in, and so does Benetrends, is sometimes they're just not qualified. And it's also important to educate them. Hey, you might not have the resources and the financial assets to do this now, but here's where you need to be. And this is what the banks look for. So it's not always going to be a slam dunk. Unfortunately, not everybody's qualified, but it is also important to let you know, hey, this is what you need to do to get there, whether it's building up credit, building up liquidity. Everybody's situation is different. I've had people come around 7-10 years later when they first started looking at franchising and then have come back to Benetrends because it's just not, the timing wasn't right. And sometimes that timing is because of the funding side. So the earlier the consultants or the franchisor or whomever can get them thinking about it, understanding their options, the better off everybody's going to be in our industry as a whole.
Love it. Mike, we try, as an IFPG consultant, we pride ourselves on being that trusted advisor. And it sounds like your team is exactly the same. They're advising them, guiding them. And in those instances where they are not ready, the credit's not there, the assets, whatever is not there, your team doesn't just say, bye. They say, hey, here's the game plan to get there. I guess you provide them maybe other resources that can help them. I don't know, perhaps a credit fixing company, whatever those are called.
Yeah, whether it's credit repair, whether it's just letting them know, hey, this is what banks look for when it comes to an equity injection, potential collateral on larger investments. So it is very important to educate them. And sometimes that information to deliver, even to a consultant or a franchisor, isn't always the best information, right? Like, we want to always say, hey, great candidate, well qualified. But, the more candid those conversations can be with your consultant, the better off everybody's going to be. And that's something that I think Benetrends, the consultants, take a lot of pride in. And this is maybe a second part of my recommendation, Red. Get a real relationship with your consultant, your funding consultant, whether it's us, whether it's somebody else. There's a lot of great opportunities out there, but let them be an extension of your business, right? There's a lot of information that comes to us that might not go to the consultant, the franchisor, right? And this is a relationship. This is a long-standing partnership that we have with IFPG and the brands that we work with. And sometimes the information we collect, it's not just financial, right? It could be, hey, we're also working with another consultant, or we're working with these brands, or really just looking to go back to the corporate job and just kicking the tires. And sometimes that information is just financial, right? They're kind of interviewing with the consultant and the brands, and they want to make them out to be better than they might be financially. It's sometimes just information that we gather because we're the funding financial side of things. And we're happy to share that with our IFPG consultants because it's important to help them gauge their business and prioritize their clients.
Nice.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up with Allie, I'll end like I started with Allie. Mike, give the consultants a little more, let's go a little deeper on some training around the parameters for some of your most popular products. Perhaps they need this or that, or help us just, I don't even know the question to ask, but give some more insights when framing at a high level what's needed, and they tee you up properly with their candidate.
Yeah, the more information that we gather, the better off everybody's going to be. To Allie's point, we have a funding calculator that gathers some high-level financial information. We want to understand their cash assets and liquidity, what they may have in a stock or traditional investment portfolio. Again, that's an option. Most people just think they can liquidate, but a lot of times they can borrow against it. Obviously, we want to understand, hey, where are your retirement funds? Are they if in an IRA? Are they with a current 401k provider? Real estate holdings is huge, whether it's a primary residence or investment properties, high level of where their credit score is. But when it comes to, and again, I think SBA and the lending environment is still very important. So high level, what banks typically want to see, regardless of the concept, regardless of the total investment, they're typically wanting to see the borrower come to the table with roughly 20% of a total investment, right? That's going to be Red Boswell's skin in the game in the project. Bank will lend the remaining 80% of the project. And that's typically what the banks like to see from an equity injection in an SBA loan. And then they want some post-closing liquidity to make sure that somebody's not overextended and there's a little bit of leeway for monthly expenses and things like that. So they're going to want to see a 6 to 8 month cash reserves. So make sure somebody's in a good spot and not really overextended. Obviously, credit score is important. 680 is a minimal credit score from a SBA perspective. But yeah, the information is crucial to gather early and know what to recognize when working with your potential client.
Love it. Okay, so the first part of what you were saying, you're listing all these things that you need to know. You all need to know. The banks need to know. Do you expect the consultant to gather that for you, or if the consultant has gathered some of this information, they know the credit score, they know this or that. So you told us the 680 is a pretty significant threshold beyond that. But what information would you expect a consultant to provide you? Name and email, phone number?
I mean, sometimes that's what we get, and that's fine. It's our job to get an understanding of the client, right? Sometimes a consultant will gather that information, right? They want to have that information, and again, if they gather that high level cash, retirement funds, portfolio, real estate, that's super, super helpful for our team, because then they can go into that call really asking those probing questions and knowing what to expect. But there's just some instances, Red, where they just don't get to that. Maybe the client happens to be moving quick and they just say, hey, you know what, I really do want to talk funding, and they're not able to get that information. That's cool with us, man. That's our job. We'll uncover that, and then we'll make sure we communicate that back to the consultant. But if they go through their normal process and they're able to gather it, obviously it's going to be super, super helpful for us. But it's not always going to be the case. We adapt. We always maneuver based on every individual circumstance.
Okay, Mike. So one more here, and I always say one more, and I give you three more. But
that's fine.
Let's take it the opposite way. Anybody you don't want to talk to. I mean, they got horrible credit, they got no money. Anything else that would be, hey guys, this is something we get introduced to folks that they don't speak English. I don't know.
I mean, so we actually are getting into Canada now. So we have some relationships from a funding perspective, from a lending environment, where again, to Reg and the finance team has developed some relationships in Canada. So the short answer is, yeah, I guess there's some candidates that just, if you just have somebody that just doesn't have anything, no assets, no credit, sometimes there's just nothing we can do. I still am from the approach of we can educate them. I mean, they might not be there now, but if you can let us know ahead of time that, you know what, and I've done this, this person's clearly not there yet, but they have it, they want it. Can you at least take 15 minutes, 20 minutes to explain that to them? I love doing that, actually, right? Because that can really change and impact somebody. Because if they don't just have the knowledge of it, then we can do that, right? So we'll massage that differently. But sometimes we get candidates that just clearly have nothing. We'd like to know that up front.
Sure.
But if you do have somebody that just you have a feeling about them, you do think, I mean, it's our job to educate them, right? So clearly, banks are not here to it's not charity. They're in this to do this, to make money and protect their investments. So there's going to be criteria that they always look for, but it's still Benetrends' job to give people the information and educate them long term.
Wise words. And Allie, did I see a thumbs up come on the screen? I have never seen that on Zoom. Wow. Awesome.
No, I was sitting with my thumbs up and I just really loved what Mike was saying.
Does it, but like I saw one pop up like a digital.
I believe you need a Mac for it.
Ah,
Wait, you did that? So you just put your thumb up and it popped up?
oh, look at the
wow.
hearts.
Sometimes balloons go, sometimes it's like a celebration of fireworks. It's because I'm on a Mac. We were all joking about it yesterday too.
If you say congratulations, does it do a fireworks?
I don't, I can't, I've never been able to make the fireworks go on command.
You did it yesterday.
Yeah, but
What'd
it
you-
wasn't on command. It's because I was just like going like this and I was like, fireworks, celebration. We love IFPG,
And then it just happened. Wow.
Goes my whole background. into it.
Well, we digress, but this is fun times. Hey, it's a relationship business, Allie. The consultants have relationships with a lot of folks at Benetrends. Are there any specific team members that are much more active with the IPG crew?
Yeah, we have three awesome ladies actually who work with the IFPG team. That's Wendy Skemmer, who's been with Benetrends, I believe 10 years, Mike. Is that she just
I think
celebrated
she's
her 10th year
been-
anniversary?
Yeah, 10 or
Yeah,
she's probably on her 11th now.
Yeah, Wendy has some strong standing relationships with your consultants. And then we also have Sarah on our team and Jen on our team. So all three of them are gearing up to do some educational content videos and get some webinars out for your team as well. So those are the friendly faces that they'll see mostly on your portal for anyone looking to reach out. But again, some of your consultants that have been around a long time might have direct relationships already with Mike or with Larry or with someone else. And that's fine too. We would obviously never take a relationship away. But again, if there's new consultants or you're not sure who to reach out to or don't have an email, the easiest way to get a hold of us is that ifpgleads@benetrends.com. And Mike and his team will be sure to get you to someone who works perfectly for you.
Remind us as we talk relationships, remind us Jen and Sarah's last names.
Sarah Vrancic, Vrancik, so S Vrancic at Benetrends, Wendy Skemmer, WSKEMER at Benetrends.com, and Jen Worrell, JWHERRELL at Benetrends.com.
And this is recorded, so you can rewind that, guys, if you want to get those emails. Connect on LinkedIn, as we always do. Certainly, these two rock stars, friends of franchising and great friends of IFPG, connect with Allie, connect with Mike, and let's just go deeper, do life together as we do with our franchise friends and our franchise family. We Are Family is the theme of last year's retreat and this year's summit coming up fast. So excited to go deeper with our friends at Benetrends, changing lives, which was Life Changer, was our theme the year before.
Love it.
Awesome. Allie, any final thoughts for the consultants?
I don't think so. I just think overall we love working with you guys, Red, and we appreciate you having us today. And we can't wait to do some more business. We want to be everywhere. So here we are.
Yes, you are. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate you, Allie. That, my friends, is your IPG Discover for the week. Mwah. See you again soon.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Red.
Where's the heart? There's the hearts. Oh, thanks.